I would like to start this video with a story. Several weeks ago, I found myself playing Arc Raiders, and I was on at a time that the Locked Gate event on Blue Gate was available. I decided to go into an LFG on Discord, find a couple of chaps, and do the event. Between me and one other player, we had 3 out of the 4 keys: Pilgrim's Peak, Ancient Fort, and Reinforced Reception. That meant the only key we needed was Raider's Refuge. We geared up and loaded in with one goal in mind: get to Raider's Refuge before everyone else. We quickly looted everything, and we did in fact find the key, stuffing it in our safe pockets just to make sure. Shortly after, we got ambushed by a trio, and unfortunately we were killed. As I lay there dying, I decided to taunt the enemy, and I opened my mic. I said, "Hey guys, we have the keys. You're not going to be able to finish this event. They're in our safe pockets." And he responded, "We don't give a fuck. No one gives a fuck about the events in this game. We just wanted to steal your loot." Since then, I have played quite a bit of Arc Raiders. At the time of recording, I am sitting at 458.5 hours. I, like many of you, am absolutely enthralled and in love with this game. But what that guy said has stuck with me. I've played many a queen, many a matriarch, I've gone in to do trials, and one thing is constant. There are always people not trying to do the event, but just shoot you in the back, and in some cases, not even take your loot, just ruin your day. Because of the events that I just described, I firmly stand in the camp that there should be a PvE exclusive mode. Now, if you express that opinion on Reddit or Discord or Twitter, you will be flooded with comments saying that you should just go play something else, you are simply bad, and that is the dichotomy of extraction shooters. But I don't think Arc Raiders has to fit into that perfect mold of extraction shooters. There are usually 2 main reasons that are cited as to why there should not be a PvE mode inside of Arc Raiders. The first of the 2 reasons is queue times. They say that if a PvE mode is introduced, queue times will skyrocket. It'll take people several minutes to get into a game and kill the game even faster than it would already be killed. It is currently 11:53 a.m. Central on a Tuesday. The current player count is at 207,124. The last 24 hours was 242,730. All-time peak 3 months ago, 481,966. If you look at the Steam chart yourself, you can see steady ups and downs, but it stays pretty consistent. This game has absolutely captured the masses in a way that we haven't seen probably since Helldivers 2, but even that game dropped off very quickly after launch. Now, it would be naive of me to assume that these numbers would stay this high and this consistent forever. We will eventually see it drop off, but the idea that a PvE exclusive mode would split the player base in such a way that queue times would increase tenfold is a ludicrous argument. I want to also look at matchmaking as it currently exists. Right now, Arc Raiders has 5 active maps. At any given time, there are 1 to 2 major map conditions, which essentially adds 1 to 2 extra maps that people can queue into. We know that Embark factors in solos, duos, and trios into their matchmaking. We also know that Embark does account for both skill and aggression in their matchmaking system. Now, we don't know all the details of whether it's a sliding scale and whether aggression takes priority over skill and so forth. They're also talking about including gear-based matchmaking. All of this to say that at minimum, there are 8 different variables, maximum 12 variables that Embark takes into account when doing matchmaking, and we are still getting into games in less than a minute. I truly do not believe that adding a PVE mode would be so astronomically detrimental to the matchmaking experience in this game. The second reason people give as to why there shouldn't be a PvE exclusive mode is that Embark themselves said the game was boring when there was no PvP. There is a phenomenal 3-part documentary on YouTube that goes over the development of Arc Raiders. This is where that quote is pulled from. However, if you actually watched the documentary, you would realize that the game they described as boring without PvP is not the game that we currently have. The Raiders did not have stamina bars. The movement was much faster. The Raiders themselves could do this insane super jump, something you'd see like a Spartan from Halo do. The looting was different. The map was massive. They said that Damn Battlegrounds and Spaceport were one giant map that you could traverse from one end to the other seamlessly. The game that they stated was boring does not exist anymore. That being said, I do agree that if we took the current game mode and just turned off PvP, it would be boring as fuck. This brings me to the next section where I want to discuss what I believe the PvE mode should be, the rewards obtained from the PvE mode, and how I think this benefits the existing issues, or at least some of the existing issues. I think that the mode should function similar to a dungeon from a traditional MMORPG or like a strike from Destiny. It should be a 20 to 30 minute instance-based event or activity with multiple encounters, a couple of puzzles, culminating in a final fight, either with a boss or boss-like event. I don't necessarily think that Embark should create individualized bosses for a PvE mode. Realistically, they would have to have 3 to 5 different maps that would require 3 to 5 different bosses, and that's just a lot of time and resources put into this mode, which I don't think Embark should be putting into it. I also believe that the Queen, Matriarch, and any other large arc that they're going to bring into the future should not be a part of this mode. Those should be exclusive to the main raids that we experience now, and a carrot on a stick for people to actually play that mode. I think that in terms of functionality with gear, it should function fairly similar to the raid mode that we currently play. Guns should degrade over time, though to a lesser degree because you're probably going to shoot more. If you go down, you are able to be revived by your teammates. If you die, I do think there should be a system that's a little more forgiving, similar to Battle Royales, where your teammates could collect your dog tags, essentially, and get you back in the fight, though that's only available once per game per raider. In terms of looting, I think it should be incredibly limited. I don't think there should be breachable containers or weapon cases, anything like that, within the instance itself. I think that the only containers that should exist are ammo boxes and grenade bags. That way you can refresh your ammo as you go along and potentially get some useful grenades as you burn through your resources. The Ark themselves should be able to be looted. However, the actual resources that spawn in them should be heavily reduced. For example, if you fight a Bastion in the normal mode, you can get up to 6, maybe 7 Bastion cells. In this PvE mode, they should drop at max 1 or maybe 2. We don't want this game mode to become just a farming simulator for epic items, or even rare items for that matter. So even things like the Arc Alloy should be heavily limited to how many spawn within, especially the larger Arc, that show up during this mode. A majority of the rewards you get from this should come at the end in the form of caches, kind of similar to what we saw in the first Raider deck, but more randomized. Just like with the trials, there should be a 3-star system. I'm not sure what would calculate whether you get 1 versus 3 stars, but that's something that can be worked out. If you get a single star, you get a bronze cache, which primarily is comprised of common materials and items such as a Stitcher 1 or basic metal, things that you would get from Scrappy or that you could purchase an unlimited amount of from the vendors. If you get 2 stars, you get a silver cache. This is going to have more uncommon items in it, such as looting Mark 1s or a light shield and potentially like a Berletta one, but still primarily have common materials and common items in it. If you get 3 stars, you get a gold cache, and those caches have up to rare items in them, such as a Venator 1, maybe a looting Mark 2, but it's still primarily comprised of uncommon and common items with a rare chance to receive rare items. This game mode should not be able to reward any blueprints of any rarity. We should also not be able to receive any epic guns, epic gears such as looting Mark III survivors or any of the Mark III augments or heavy shields. And really the only epic loot that you would be able to obtain from this mode are from the Ark themselves at a very limited number. This sort of brings up the purpose of this mode, why even have it? And I think that this mode serves 2 major purposes. One, if you are a dad of 7 and you just worked 100 hours this week and you just want to get on and play Ark Raiders and enjoy the world of Ark Raiders in a lower stakes scenario, this helps you out. You can get some materials, you can get some items, and feel successful in the 20 minutes that you can play for a day while you go back to feeding your 17 children. The other purpose is if you just got your shit pushed in for 3 hours and your stash is low, you could play this mode, get some items, either break them down or have materials to get you back up on your feet. A side effect of a PVE mode, as I just described, with the reward structure that I just described, means that we can do away with free kits or at least have them much more limited. I think this is a huge positive. The way free loadouts function currently are not exactly what I think Embark intended. Free loadouts were supposed to be that way of you getting back into the game after losing a bunch of items, but instead, free loadouts are used to just negate all risk and get all reward. Some of that goes into the whole weapon balancing thing, but I think that free loadouts have to be restricted. I actually think that Embark can take a page out of Bungie's book with what they are doing in Marathon. Marathon has a free loadout equivalent built in known as a shell named Rook, and 2 important things about their version of a free loadout in Marathon. When you load up as Rook, you are automatically match made towards the end of a match. You also can only load up as a solo. You cannot take 3 Rooks into trios. And I think that free loadouts in Ark Raiders should function exactly the same. Prioritize people coming in at the 19 to 17 minute mark, and you have to load up as a solo player. So this forces you, rather than running around the map trying to get into fights and killing people and hopefully getting out like a bandit, it forces you to sneak around, stick to the edges of the map, and extract at the very last second, hoping that you can get away with some of the loot that you have collected. I think that's probably the best solution. I know that the CEO himself has said they're looking at reworking free loadouts because they're not functioning as they had initially intended. Now, if you've made it this far into this video, TED Talk, talking head thing, you're probably at least in agreement with me or on board. But for anyone who has made it this far and are not on board, I do want to say the purpose of this PvE mode should not be, again, to replace the primary mode. We still want the best rewards in the current game mode that we have, similar to what the Division 1 did, where you had many activities that would get you good loot, but the best loot, the top tier loot, and especially for people who want to collect those things, should be in the PvEVP mode. So those are my thoughts on the whole PvE versus PvP debate. Do keep in mind that if you are someone who's hoping for a PvE mode, unless Embark has already started development, and even if they have, the earliest we would see any sort of mode like that would be holiday 2026, potentially Q1 of 2027. It's a long way off. They have many other things they need to worry about and prioritize, so I wouldn't keep holding your breath. the current matchmaking system, I do think, solves many of the issues, but it's not perfect. All right, so those are my ideas. Let me know what you think. If my ideas are dog shit, tell me. If you think they're phenomenal, I would definitely appreciate you telling me that. But do all the things, click all the buttons, I guess, and maybe I'll be convinced to make more videos. Anyways, stay safe, make choices.